Welcome to Uncaged. This is Bant Breen, and today's going to be a little bit different. We're actually doing a summary of predictions. So, as many of you know that watch the Uncaged episodes, we always ask people what their predictions are for the near future. And we focus really on what's going to happen over the next 12 months and not really talk about kind of the moonshots, the far future stuff. But in the near future, we let people play that Nostradamus role of kind of thinking about what the next year has in store for us. And so I've gathered together, done a nice little compilation here of some of the 2023 predictions that we've had from some of our wonderful guests this year. I hope you enjoy and look forward to having you back. Cheers.
I think that coming into the 2022-2023 school year, I think it'll be defined by 3 or 4 big issues. The first is I think it's going to be defined by staffing shortages. You know, we all hoped that 2021-22 was going to be a return to normalcy. What we didn't accept prior to is that normalcy is gone forever. The second thing that I think is going to be defined by are behavioral challenges and concerns as the manifestation, the emotional toll, the mental toll of all of this plays out on our kids and on the adults who take care of kids. I think the third thing that we're going to see more of, unfortunately, and not less, is things that get in the way of educating kids. We're going to see more fights over books. We're going to see more fights over content that has nothing to do with young people who need desperately to have adults who love them, who care about them, trying to ensure that they learn. And then the last thing that I think we're going to see is a real empowerment by students. Young people have been the leaders of all of the major movements of change in American history. And what I see coming is a point where they can no longer count on the older generations, and they have a distinct worldview informed by the globalized perspective of technology, and they're learning faster and more effectively than any time in human history. And then we're going to see student empowerment over the course, I predict, over the next year to 18 months in ways that we've never seen before. As students become more literate to their globalized experience.
My greatest hope is that we all just come to live with what this new world is, and that this is going to be around for a while, and we just learn to adjust to it and stop battling each other over things that are kind of silly for our country, the United States in particular, so that we can focus on the real important things that we need to do, both for us and for our kids. Because I feel like for these kids to have the 2 years of your life, if you're only 11 years old, and 2 of them spent in quarantine, and now we're all kind of like, all right, we're all moving on from this. Like, for them, that's like a move, it's like going to a new country, a new place. It's a whole different world, a whole different culture. And so I think it would be great to re-understand what the rules are of society and all be on board with that together. And I think from a work status place that we start saying, okay, well, let's start looking a little bit closer at the individual who is capable of hybrid work, who isn't. I think it just depends on the human, and we've got to do a better job of recognizing the individual in the culture of the workforce.
We still haven't digested the impact of pandemic. A lot of people are making the false assumption that okay, well, once we open the world back up, then everything comes back to normal instantaneously. And that's not the case. We've had 2 full years of an entire world being locked down, behaviors being reconstructed, trillions of dollars, flowing in. It is going to take multiple years for that to work through. And that's going to have a bunch of unforeseen shocks and changes, whether it's inflation or supply chain issues. In the same way it rippled through over the last 2 years and changed, it's going to have to ripple through again and basically reset to some new normal, which is not the pre-pandemic normal. I think that's the biggest business challenge, is for leaders to recognize that hump is still coming. It's not ending overnight.
I am getting more and more requests for in-person speaking engagements. So I will say that people are starting to return. I don't know if maybe we should do away with the word normal, right? I think it's going to be different, right? But I think people are starting to move back towards in-person events, just by the way our bookings and our inquiries have gone. We're not having people reaching out so much for the virtual events lately. They're doing in person. So I think that's great. If you're someone who wants to be back in person, I think that's something that, is very, very exciting.
Many people that don't have access to care, that are really struggling because of COVID, because of the war, because of their everyday lives. And I just hope that more people find help and find out about the fact that they could get help relatively easily, with a low barrier to entry by trying out one of our products or any of the products of our competitors. I mean, it's really about establishing this treatment modality.
For us as an organization, we are looking really heavily at member engagement, right? Like, how do we get more engagement from those communities and help them on an actual journey? We're looking really heavily at something that we call care navigation. Most people don't know things like, well, if you go see that same doctor at this facility on a Tuesday instead of that facility on a Thursday, it could cost you way less and you're getting the same level of care. We want to get people to the best providers they can and kind of help them on that journey. It's really, really important.
Hopefully we'll start seeing more growth on the customer acquisition side. As I mentioned, our product release is very new, but in addition to that, I would also really love to be able to start providing greater value to those small and medium-sized businesses as well through some of the newer product releases that we will be introducing.
It seems like there's a little bit of a resurgence of clients with goals that are more top of funnel, awareness driven, and those types of things. So as much as the pendulum kind of swung to super ROI, ROAS kind of focused, and then there's still definitely interest in that, we're actually seeing quite a few large clients saying, yeah, that's of course important, but really we're just trying to rebrand or reposition or raise our awareness of our products or services. And so we're kind of now in the process of developing the same kind of techniques, but for other types of objectives like awareness. And so I'm really excited about kind of some early progress on that.
A lot of our clients have been very successful, and we've got a couple of very large ones that our top 7 clients collectively since January 1st have raised nearly $1 billion, which has been really fantastic to be along the ride with them. And we've been really fortunate to see glimpses of the future of these industries from them. And so the back half of the year looks really good for us, looks really good for them. It's not really good when I look at my 401k lately, but when you think about the investment that these businesses are putting into America, into the workforce, into the labor force, into growth. One of our clients is building a new headquarters in Dallas, and they have got one in San Jose, and they're bringing jobs and they're bringing people. It's encouraging to see, because you don't get that by reading the news. And so I think we're a little bit of a leading indicator in what's to come. And that makes me very proud of the work we're doing, but also gives me great hope for where we're headed as an economy, because I think we're going to get out of the mess we're in right now and see what's going on. So we've got our sights set high for next year and the end of this year for sure.
I mean, obviously inflation is now the real challenge, right? And we saw 2 things, right? We saw real dislocation in how the supply chain was working. And then we really saw the prices starting to increase as a result. So this is going to be something that we're going to deal with for a number of years, right? And I think while it's getting better, we're still dealing with it in 2022. And I think, there's 2 things now, right? So you still have this underlying inflationary pressure, but you are starting to see things slow a bit, right? So now, hopefully we're going to miss this kind of stagflation, which, unfortunately, I mean, I was in a business the last time we had that in the 1980s. So
we're doing a lot of planning for 2023. There's a lot of uncertainty with the economy. There's a lot of discussion of, are we going into recession? Are we not? What's going to happen with the cost of money and rising interest rates? So there's some reluctancy to spend in our industry right now. The balance sheets are very strong. Many businesses have done very, very well over the course of the last year and a half, but it's the fear of making a commitment going into 23. So what we're seeing is some reluctancy. What I will tell you is now is the time to actually make sure that you're over budgeting on your marketing and advertising dollars, because it's during uncertain times, it's during downturns in the market where consumers are less loyal to brands and more likely to try something else. And so it's during these times that a challenger brand or a second and lead brand can catapult and become a market leader during times like this.
We feel a bit of stress, pressure, just from our clients, just wanting to save money. How can we cut costs? And we've done, mid-contract negotiations, cutting costs for our clients, some areas that you wouldn't even think that, you just asked the vendor and they were able to reduce costs. So from our point of view, I feel like it's going to be a rush to the end of the year, just with getting new clients set up, adding just new projects, just from the clients asking us, where else can we save money? We need to dig, because I think cash is going to be king the rest of the year. And companies are going to want to save money every way that they possibly can. So that's what we're in the business for.
At the end of 2021, it really was, hey, we're getting back to the world and people are vaxxed and we're figuring this stuff out. And while we're still figuring it out, now there's economic issues and global geopolitical issues to deal with. It's really, again, about what are my objectives, what are my client objectives, and how can we help meet those? It's just a different set of obstacles. And so we'll work around them. I talk a lot with my clients about, champions adjust.
For me personally, I believe that there will be no recession and nothing. It's just more of a hype that people are doing. What happened is, Bent, is that people actually got easy finance during COVID. So all the government provided a lot of stimulus. So that money came into the system and companies tried their best to expand. Now, when they tried to expand, somebody like us got success and many doesn't got success. Right. So basically what they're doing is, it's a correction that they hired 5,000 plus workforce. They thought my revenue will go up. Now it has not gone up. So of course, correction will come. And that correction is coming right now in the market. It will be there for maybe 1 quarter, 2 quarters. And then of course, it will go back to the spending. So I think this is more of a noise rather than actuality.
I'm an optimist by nature, and I look at any leading economic indicator. Yeah, you can see some trouble points, but at the same time frame, there's always in my mind, what are we comparing it to? There's been some record spend and some record consumer demand over the past couple years, especially in some verticals and categories, and furniture is certainly one of them. It's interesting when we talk about the ups and downs of what is going to occur, just because some of these downs naturally have to occur. When you're doing 2 times, 3 times the amount of business you normally would in a year, at some point that's got to level out.
Regardless of the economic ups and downs of the overall economy, I don't see consumption for data, interaction with data declining anytime soon. I mean, you have more and more folks, instead of watching the regular NBC nightly news or Law and Order, are into podcasts or TV series that aren't just delivered by mainstream cable or national providers anymore. Instead, you're logging on to Netflix or to Hulu or Disney Plus and getting your content that way. There's a demand to process that data closer to the end user, which not only helps with, the performance and the delays, but also is just a more cost-effective way of delivering the content. So for us, we don't see any decrease or view that we're going to see a decrease in our business. We actually see growth in our business.
I think it's really going to be on 2 big things. One is omni-channel, and really where online meets physical is what I get the most excited about. And that's because just like Google was digitizing the world's information, that's what we're trying to do. We're digitizing, we're indexing retail. So when you have that, I think it's going to be feeding both. So we're very excited. Omnichannel is going to be a big part. But I think still, our brick and mortar basic grocery is still 80% or more. And I'm hoping what our data solution will be helping is solve and optimize the supply chain issues so that not only it's done in a more efficient and maybe business-wise profitable way, but it's also we're less wasteful of world's resources. So I'm very proud that it's part of this bigger puzzle of optimizing how we as Americans or as the world globally utilizing our resources.
There's this momentum that has been taken towards connected commerce, or I don't know the name, but you can say that, okay, we know that we need to be able to address our customers in every channel, that they will wait for us, and we need to be there, and we need to find ways to be there without, massive investment, etc. So that's a fact today. But at the same time, you have this constraints and contraction of the business, like you said, inflation and product that are scarcity on the product. Now, if you want to buy a fridge, you may have to wait 3 months to get your fridge, unless you take the one that is actually in the shelves of the store. That's a fact. So the big challenge for the companies and for the digital guys in companies is to make sure we keep those investments being important for companies and being planned, I would say.
For fiscal year 23, the objective is really to move more into apply more artificial intelligence, more machine learning, being able to provide more quality data and through that really achieving our goals of this fantastic experience, being able to make it seamless for customers to whether they're coming to a store or they're coming online, where they will recognize them, we'll be able to provide experience that they're expecting from us. So it's a long journey, not easy, but that's what we are planning to do in the next months.
Our focus now is all anchored in a strategic pillar. We call it digital that simplifies. So we've got the digital part. Now it's time to simplify it. So we're trying to make the experience of our employees using those tools and integrating those tools and making it tie together more elegantly a real priority. And that applies to the consumers as well. And I think the second part of 2022 that we're managing our way through is one of the toughest labor markets we've seen in the history of the company. Certainly the technology does wonderful things, but without the human being to use the technology, as a professional services firm, we don't have a lot more that we're able to offer. So a lot of focus on retaining our talent. That's been a focus all the way through the pandemic, and we've doubled down on it this year. And as business grows, looking to recruit new talent into the industry. But the headlines you're seeing across every industry and every sector is just this critical shortage of